Things are beginning to calm down out there in the Atlantic as far as tropical activity, but as we move over the next couple weeks, get a little bit closer to peak hurricane season, which is, early September. We're pretty much entering that period right now. There are signs and model guides that it could begin to wake back up. So here to discuss that, along with a powerful cold front that has pretty much made its way across a good chunk of the country this morning. And listen, this isn't just some 1 to 2, 3 day air mass that's going to bring below average temperatures. There are just loud signals that this pattern is pretty much going to repeat itself over the next several days, the next couple weeks. Deep into September, we'll just have reinforcing cold fronts and just cooler air that's going to drop down out of Canada across a good chunk of the central and eastern U.S. So if you're a big fall weather fan, you're going to like that update. So we'll speak on that and today's weather, and then we'll be done. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Let's make sure this is going to work for us, and it is. So we'll start off by looking at the entire Atlantic like we do every update on the tropics. This is Tropical Storm Fernand. Very disorganized as it's beginning to lose some of its tropical characteristics as it gains latitude, just gets further north in the colder waters of the North Atlantic. But regardless, this thing is going to just kind of head off in this direction, kind of the same area that Aaron went, and just be completely off our page here soon. So sooner than later, that's for sure. Another area I'm watching, but not too much, but is what is left over of Invest 99L. Now, this is not dubbed an area of interest per the National Hurricane Center anymore, but this area just continues to almost control its own destiny despite what model guidance says it should be doing, and just continues to fire off shower and storm action here in the Caribbean this morning. So we will continue to just kind of keep our eye on it, but right now we're not overly concerned about it. Another area I am watching is just off the coast of the southeast, just some unsettled weather. And this area I just circled here, this will be the common area we will watch over the next, I would say, 7 to 10 days. And we're going to discuss this area a lot here in a minute. With just stalled frontal boundaries, whether they're, hanging off just off the coast of the southeast or over the Gulf, or maybe just inland or well off the coastline. Shower and storm action likes to develop along these boundaries, and sometimes this activity, area of disturbed weather, can just hang out over the open waters too long and then develop some tropical characteristics. And next thing you know, we have what you call homegrown activity, and basically you can get a tropical storm that could develop just off an old stalled frontal boundary. So anyways, just wanted to show you the big picture. Nothing out here in the MDR, main development region, but we are going to discuss this area too in this update. So let's move past this update for the National Hurricane Center. There's no areas of interest out here. The only thing we got on our screen is Tropical Storm Fernand, which is a 45 mile per hour tropical storm moving northeast at 14 miles per hour. So it's, moving away from everybody, even Atlantic Canada. I don't even think you have anything to worry about up here in Newfoundland or anything. So I don't even have a segment for you guys. But I don't think y'all have anything to worry about. But as far as anything else, nope, nothing else. So then what's the point of doing this update, you might ask? Well, I'm watching a couple areas. The first area is a little bit closer to home and just time frame wise a little bit closer to us. So we're going to start this off this coming Saturday morning, August the 30th. And if I forget to mention days of the week, time frames, just look right up here. So green, splashes of yellow, reds, orange embedded in this green. Just think of that as shower and storm activity. In this case, it might be tropical activity, tropical moisture. So we continue to move, and we're just going to have a lot of unsettled weather, I think, around the southeast. Doesn't mean it's going to be a complete washout, but I do think the weather will get unsettled, especially for the southeast, for the back half of our Labor Day weekend. But you see all this action just kind of hanging out off the Gulf coastline, over the northern Gulf, off the coast of the southeast. You just got to watch. And model guidance, even the Euro, which is what I'm showing you, not just the crazy GFS, continues to like the idea of some sort of weak low pressure as we're getting into around Labor Day, developing off the coast of the southeast. And, as it does, it just looks like a weak low. And honestly, if it develops, it might not bother anybody. It might just develop and then just head further east out in the Atlantic. But I think it is worth watching because some model runs has had this low pressure developing and kind of going right back into the Carolina coastline or the East Coast, kind of like what Chantal did. So we do need to watch this. The next name is Gabriella. So the G name. So we'll continue to watch this, but as of right now, not overly concerned about this whatsoever. Now, looking at the morning GFS run, and excuse me, it's Gabrielle, not Gabriella. I just remembered that on the fly there. But anyways, starting off around Sunday morning, August the 31st, same situation, just a lot of unsettled weather down here. And does the GFS pop off a low? Well, a little bit right there. There's a low pressure developing. So we'll watch this off the coast of the eastern U.S., but as you can tell, this action begins to move away. So regardless of development, it doesn't really bother anybody too much. But, check out that blue on your screen. And it's getting close, guys. I mean, this is early September, wild stuff. So we're going to speak on this cooler air here in a second after this update on the tropics. So I guess what I'm saying is between, I would say, day 6 and day 10, watch for some tropical development off the coast of the southeast. Maybe just some weak low pressure. It might not even get strong enough to, take a name. But it's just something to watch. And this could really enhance unsettled weather for anybody at the beach, in the Carolinas or Georgia or east coast of Florida, maybe even up the coastline a little bit. So moving forward, what about the icon? Does it show something? It does. Just some unsettled weather. Here it is. It actually develops a low pressure earlier in the time frame and, ejects this across the North Atlantic. And there's just a lot of unsettled weather off the coast of the southeast. So I really think there's a possibility we could get some homegrown activity in this area sometime later this weekend and early next week, around this time next week. And the Euro AI model shows the same thing. Starting off Sunday, August the 31st, getting into September, and a lot of unsettled weather, and then that low pressure kind of moves away. So we will watch that. Not a huge deal, though. Next thing I want to watch, and I will say the Euro likes this and the GFS not so much. Sometime this weekend, around the 30th, I want to watch a tropical wave that moves off the coast of Africa. It's right here. It doesn't look like much at this time frame. But as we move forward here in time, my gut feeling says that I think that the Euro might be getting this going a little bit too soon when you match up the time frame with the MJO phase we're in. I still think the last couple of days of August we're still in just kind of a sinking air phase, but we'll see. Now, one thing we will watch is a more favorable MJO phase is going to be working in across the Gulf, the Caribbean, kind of getting into this time frame. So basically this tropical wave, right, is going to be moving kind of together towards one another to a more favorable rising air phase that will be moving in from the Pacific into the Gulf, into the Caribbean, the Southwest Atlantic. So the wave will be working towards a more favorable area. I hope that makes sense. I'll explain that here in a second. But as we move here in time, the wave barely is surviving. This isn't a forecast. We're about a week from today. We got a weak low pressure here. It's barely surviving the main development region. But it finally gets, and I think it starts to tap into something better once we get about a week into September. This is September 6th, by the way, 270 hours out. And you might be thinking, Mitch, this is way too far out. Well, you say that to Hurricane Aaron when we were tracking Hurricane Aaron outside of 10 days. And listen, model guides has gotten better. It's not, people view it like this, but it's not exactly what's going to happen. But it's gotten better. But you got this low riding wave, and we got to watch it. And as we start to get into like the first full weekend of September, like the 7th, it develops this into a hurricane at the very end of the frame here. And we got another wave behind it. So, I do think we're entering a bit of a break. I think we've been in a bit of a break with the tropics, but I don't know if it's going to last very long. But, the end of the Euro, even though it's 360 hours out, shows two decent tropical cyclones, one getting pretty close as we get about 10 days into September. Okay, what about the GFS? We only have about 10, 11 days out, and that's all we need, honestly. The GFS does not like a wave surviving or even really developing across the main development region. And in fact, it doesn't have anything. And so, hey, the Euro AI model, of course, is going to follow the Euro for the most part and develop a tropical wave here about a week from today. It's kind of embedded in what we call the monsoon trough. And by the time we get to the end of this frame, 300 hours out, several days into September, this is the 7th, this is the 8th, you do have a decent sized area of tropical energy getting into the Caribbean islands. So Now, with all that being said, is there a signal backed up by the Euro ensemble? Makes up 51 members? There is. We got a week from today, and you already have a signal for a tropical wave getting into the main development region, the tropical Atlantic. And we take this into about from day 7 to day 10, and there's still a signal out here. You don't have 51 Ls. You wouldn't have that this far out. Some are gaining latitude pretty fast, and about 10 or so members are staying low in latitude, kind of a low rider. So there's a signal that things are going to begin to wake up out there as we get a little bit into September for sure. Now, another way we can show you this, and I know it cuts the screen off down here, so it's very tiny on your screen probably. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this extends past day 10. And as we get to day 10, this is another way to look at it, but I want to go between day 10 and day 15. You can see there's a lot of low pressures that get going once we get all the way into about, September 9th. You can see there's a signal for some low pressures here, and that doesn't mean there's going to be 12 hurricanes or something, guys. This just makes up 51 members. Remember, there's some members developing over here too. So just look at this as a signal that, we're not done with hurricane season. It's wild, some of the comments you read saying, the hurricane season is dead. It's not coming back. It's over. It's not. It would be cool if we could just go into a cooler pattern, more fall-like pattern and stay there. But I will tell you one thing, and we're about to dive into this. If we keep getting cold fronts diving down into the U.S., it doesn't matter how many hurricanes develop out here in the Atlantic. Unless they slip under the trough and get into the Gulf, or something develops out the Caribbean and gets into the Gulf, which it absolutely could, it's going to be hard to get a landfalling tropical system, especially for the East Coast, if we continue to have cold fronts dropping down. But guy named Peyton posted this yesterday. He's very intelligent when it comes to the tropics, but this is available on sites too. It's going to be a little bit hard to understand, but I'll make it as cut and dry for you as possible. The green areas you see on your screen, that's rising air. That promotes tropical activity. The brown areas, I've said that many times, is sinking air. It definitely, these tropical systems don't like sinking air. They like rising air. They can't get going in sinking dry air for the most part. So what's the date? The 26th. So we can pretty much ignore all this. This is past. This is kind of what we're getting into right now. So if you look very closely, and I know this is hard to see, all your rising air is over, areas of the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. All your sinking air right now is over the Atlantic, heck, even the Pacific, the Gulf, and just everywhere in the Atlantic. So it makes sense why it's quiet. It's not a favorable MJO phase. Now, as we start to move into this time frame, the 1st into the 7th of September, this phase of rising air, you get some more rising air starting to move into the Pacific. I expect the Eastern Pacific, to get a little bit more high end as far as activity with tropical stuff. Okay, but this area of rising air is moving west to east, and eventually we'll begin to get into the Gulf, the Caribbean, and stuff like that. And so we start to lose this sinking air influence, which is right here. And then we get between the 8th and the 14th. Now, this is when I think things are going to start to get active again. And it's not too far away. I mean, we'll be in this time frame before you know it. And this is climo-wise peak hurricane season. And you see all this green over, the Pacific, the Gulf, the Caribbean, and then starting to get into the MDR, the main development region. Okay, we're going to get an uptick in tropical activity here. And then even between the 15th and the 21st of September, a lot of rising air, green, you're seeing over the Atlantic. So it makes sense why we're seeing kind of a dead period right now, or entering a dead period. And we're going to have that for the next several days, more than likely. So that's an update on that. Hope that helps. As far as an update on these cooler temperatures, first off, I want to show you current conditions. Look at this. Look at the Midwest. Look at you guys. Look at y'all doing y'all's thing up here. Upper 30s, 40s, 50s. Now, I know some people don't like all this, but definitely cooler air. I mean, it feels like fall. You're waking up, and you're going to need a light jacket in a lot of these areas. This is current temperatures across the deep south. Still very warm, uncomfortable. But you guys will get a taste of this cooler air, a feel of this cooler air very soon. And I do want to take a look at the eastern U.S. too. As heck, it's 63 degrees on the dot at my house, which is about 2 to 3 degrees lower than what was forecast. Happens a lot. So I always love when it gets a little cooler than what they forecast, but it's nice. Got a dew point about 59. But look, you got temperatures deep into the 60s, well down, even some 60-degree readings, upper 60s in the panhandle of Florida. We got some 50s deep down into Tennessee. Nice cooler air sweeping in. So this will continue to reinforce itself, get cooler. I want to actually extend it all the way to about the 31st of August. It's going to remain cool between now and the 31st of August, by the way. But guys, it continues to look cooler than average for the foreseeable future. This is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook between the 31st and the 4th of September. Below average temperatures for the central to eastern U.S. Slightly above average temperature chances maybe across the northern states. But, I mean, look at this. It just continues. The gift just keeps on giving, right? And then you look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This is clear through the first 8 days of September. Below average temperatures continue to show up. And I really want to watch this time frame for what we call a cross-polar flow. And we're about to talk about that here in a second. In fact, right now. So what you're looking at here is low pressure and high pressure. The warmer colors, the yellows, the orange, the reds, that's high pressure, a ridge. Okay, the blues, lower pressure, a trough, dip in the jet. And that's exactly what we're getting right now across the eastern U.S. So this is verifying for like Wednesday evening, right? Well, this is what it's supposed to be doing for Wednesday evening. So what's going on as we get into this weekend, we continue to just get this trough showing up. So we got this ridge spiking up to Atlanta. This is dislodging cool air down into the central and eastern U.S., into this dip in the jet, this trough. So cooler air all the way down to here. We got this ridge, so it's going to continue to be warmer than average across the west. Now, you think, okay, well, this pattern's eventually got to go away, right? Well, one thing you'll see is consistent lower pressure. This doesn't mean we're going to have just crazy cool air, but we're probably going to have a really unsettled period of weather as we get into the last couple of days of August, into the first few days of September for the south. Just lower pressure down here, and this is going to bog down the temperatures. What's interesting to me is ridge breaks over central Canada, and we get what you call cross-polar flow. This is something that you, if you're a winter weather fan, you absolutely love to see, say, in December, January, and February. But huge spike in the ridge, okay, all the way up into Alaska. This is what we call a negative EPO and positive PNA ridge over areas of the west. This dislodges cool air down into this dip in the jet, and cool air is able to continue to spill directly oriented from the polar area down into the central to eastern U.S. So just the pattern, and guys, this is getting into a few days into September, continues to just look wonderful for cool weather fans. And it just continues and continues and continues. And maybe it lets up as we get 10 days or so into September. But man, and as far as temperatures compared to average, of course, you know, the blues and the greens, that's below average temperatures, the cooler temperatures. And then, you know, the yellows, reds, and all that stuff, that's above average temperatures. But I mean, this continues. It's getting to the 31st, the 1st of September, the 2nd, the 3rd. And you're thinking, okay, it's beginning to warm up here. And then here comes that cross-polar flow look to it. And this begins to cool down Canada. It begins to cool down the upper Midwest again as we're getting into late next week. And yeah, the pattern just continues to look cool. And I honestly think if you're missing out on a lot of this cool air, say for the central U.S. and this first cold front that's moving in right now, or it's already moved in, I think that your time might come several days into September, because I think the cold air dump does favor more so the central U.S. rather than the eastern U.S. So, yeah, I mean, cool pattern just sticks around. If you're not a fan of the cooler weather, you're probably not going to be a fan of this break in summer. It will warm up again, I think. But, you know, we're definitely getting a break. So, we'll continue to move forward here and looking at today's weather. We got just an area of rain cruising across areas of Oklahoma. If this can get in motion for us, it is just being slow. Come on, baby. All right, it just might not get in motion for us. That's all right. It's not going to be perfect every morning. But we got rain. There it is. We got rain moving across Oklahoma, moving into Arkansas, a little bit of sprinkle activity into northern Mississippi. This will keep cooler temperatures in this area. And you basically just got the bottom stalled out boundary area of this cold front into this region. So not a lot of east to west movement. Well, not a lot of north to south movement, and there's a lot of west to east movement with this. So a lot of this rain's going over some of the same areas. Just a soaker across Oklahoma City. A lot of moisture across the Rockies. Outside of that, pretty quiet. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We got flood watches up across areas of the Rockies. Oklahoma, extreme heat warnings and heat advisories across Washington, the Pacific Northwest. We got red flag warnings across areas of northern Cal and Oregon. Eastern half of the country is pretty quiet. Severe weather threat, there ain't much of anything. If you live in the green, that's just a general risk of thunderstorms. But the eastern U.S., the reason you're not having much of any thunderstorm risk is because dry air is dominating the air mass. You're not going to get a lot of storm activity in dry air. Now, the risk of excessive rainfall, multiple areas, 5 different areas run a 15% risk of flash flooding across the Rockies and the Southern Plains. So be aware of a big flash, well, I wouldn't say big, but a flash flooding risk across some of these areas for today. The Southeast, some sprinkles could make it as far east as maybe northwest Alabama, but we're definitely going to get some thunderstorms across the southern half of the peninsula of Florida because the cold front just cannot make it this far south. It normally doesn't in late August. But man, most of the day looks pretty quiet across the southeast. Beautiful low humidity day for most of everybody. Same thing with the northeast. Now, you're embedded in the actual trough, so the lower pressure will actually help aid in some shower activity. So you might get some cool rain showers up here in the Adirondacks and the Finger Lakes region, maybe around Buffalo. When I say cool, I'm not talking about the 40s or anything like that probably, but maybe even a rumble of thunder, maybe even some small hail because there's so much cold air aloft associated with this trough, but not a big deal weather-wise. We're going to continue just to get a lot of rain this morning across Oklahoma. I do think it'll taper off, but we'll get some thunderstorm activity down here near the coastal areas of Texas, just inland, and a lot of thunderstorm activity and just heavy rain activity across Colorado, New Mexico. This could create some flash flooding. And we'll wake up tomorrow morning and do it again as this energy ejects off the Rockies into the southern plains. So we're going to wake up to some more heavy rain across Oklahoma again. But the north central U.S., a nice day. Not really much to speak on. Enjoy your weather. And, maybe by the time we get into tomorrow, some more light sprinkle action will enter the picture. So out west, it's quiet until this afternoon to this evening. We're going to get numerous thunderstorm activity firing across pretty much all the Rocky states out here, the Cascades. And there is going to be a bit of a flash flooding threat out here, So if you're vacationing out here in the Rockies, just numerous thunderstorms, numerous rain showers with just lower pressure over the area ejecting across. So temperatures, just nice. It's nice. You can't ask for much better for late August, guys. It could be scalding hot right now, and it just truly feels like fall. It feels just like September out here. Deep south, cold front has not made it, but yeah. Western U.S., besides areas where rain is falling, if you're outside the cloud cover and rainfall, it'll be pretty hot today. So Montana, it will be hotter than, say, areas of the southeast today. So it's crazy, but man, felt like that video was going to be much longer than what it was, but that's it. So appreciate y'all. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again tomorrow morning. Talk soon.